Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to dive right into a truly terrifying medical mystery. Today, we're connecting a massive global health crisis to a completely unexpected suspect. When we think of medical emergencies, we usually picture bustling ERs or cutting-edge labs, right? But what if the root of a modern medical crisis is actually happening right beneath our feet, in the soil of our farms and the water of our wetlands? Just to put the scale of this into perspective, every single year, antimicrobial resistance plays a role in over 1 million deaths worldwide. Over a million! This isn't some dystopian problem for the distant future, it's happening right now, and it really sets the stage for our investigation today. For decades, the story has been that we're simply overusing antibiotics in humans and livestock. And sure, that's a big part of why our medicines are failing. But as we'll see from some wild new research, we might only be looking at half of the picture. Section 1. The surprising suspect. So, what if the accomplice, helping these deadly hospital infections survive, isn't actually found in a clinic, but out in the open air? What if the everyday products we use to grow our food are secretly giving dangerous bacteria a deadly advantage? Let's take a look at glyphosate. It's incredibly common in agriculture. In fact, it's literally the most widely sold herbicide in the entire world. It's designed to clear fields of weeds to maximize crop yields. But here's the twist. Scientists now suspect this exact chemical is accidentally putting bacteria through a sort of boot camp, training them to survive our best and most critical medical drugs. It's a massive, unintended consequence. Moving on to Section 2, the Argentina wetland stain. To uncover this hidden connection, researchers launched a really fascinating study down in Argentina. And they didn't just look in one place. Think of it like they were gathering microscopic evidence from 3 very different crime scenes, just to see if they could connect the dots between our hospitals, our farms, and our natural ecosystems. In total, they collected 102 bacterial strains. Now, 68 of those came from a pristine, protected wetland reserve called the Parana Delta. Another 19 were sourced from local hospitals, and the final 15 were pulled directly from farms and herbicide-exposed soils. Their goal was straightforward. Test all of these strains against 16 common antibiotics and against pure weedkiller to see exactly what they could survive. Section 3. Tracing the resistance. Okay, so when the researchers isolated the bacteria found in those hospital samples, the lab results were, quite frankly, jaw-dropping. A staggering 74% of the hospital strains tested were highly resistant to carbapenems. But the truly scary part wasn't just the antibiotic resistance itself. It was that these exact same hospital strains simultaneously showed a massive tolerance for high concentrations of glyphosate. They were essentially double-armored against both our medicine and our weed killers. Now, if you're wondering what carbapenems actually are, they're a class of incredibly powerful antibiotics. Medical professionals strictly reserve them for when everything else fails. They are literally our last line of defense in modern medicine. So when bacteria become resistant to carbapenems, it means these bugs are nearly impossible to kill. And yet, here they are, sharing a mysterious tolerance to common agricultural weed killer. This dual resistance creates a genuinely frightening scenario. Researchers are pointing out that if these ultra-resistant hospital bacteria escape the clinics and make their way into our wastewater systems, they wouldn't just survive, they'd thrive. If they happen to reach agricultural zones heavily treated with weed killers, the presence of glyphosate could actually encourage these specific superbugs to multiply. Why? Because they are uniquely equipped to withstand that toxic chemical environment, while other bacteria die off. And get this, we're actually seeing this exact natural selection happening out in the wild right now. In the Parana Delta, remember, that's a protected wetland reserve where no chemicals are directly sprayed. Wetland bacteria, like Enterobacter, are tolerating extreme doses of glyphosate, up to 80 milligrams per milliliter. Meanwhile, your regular everyday soil bacteria, like Bacillus, are highly sensitive to their herbicide and just completely die off. So the environment is actively selecting for the toughest, most resistant bugs, even in areas we assume are untouched. Which leads us to Section 4, the underground gene economy. All of this raises the ultimate mystery. How in the world are bacteria living in a protected wetland acting exactly like terrifying superbugs from a hospital ICU? How did they get so tough without ever seeing the inside of a clinic? Well, by mapping the genetic tree of all 102 strains, researchers discovered what we can really only call an underground gene economy. The most resistant bacteria, whether they came from the hospital, the farm, or the nature reserve, were surprisingly close relatives. As it turns out, bacteria don't keep their survival secrets to themselves. They actually pass these blueprints, these resistance genes, back and forth across completely different environments. And the invisible highway they use to share this data? It's the natural water cycle. Finally, Section 5, regulating our future. This invisible genetic highway, where resistance built in a farm field can literally wash into a city hospital, brings us to a major crossroads regarding how we regulate the chemicals we spray on our food. Now, glyphosate is already a fiercely debated substance. It's been classified as a probable carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer, and it's even banned for domestic use in several European countries. While policymakers and scientists continue to debate those specific health impacts, this new superbug connection adds a completely new layer to the conversation. It's no longer just about the direct toxicity of the chemical to humans, it's about how this chemical is fundamentally altering the microbial world around us. Which leaves us with a critical recommendation from the study authors to really think about. Given what we now know about this underground gene economy, shouldn't every single agricultural chemical be tested for its role in creating superbugs before it ever reaches the soil? If our weed killers are accidentally disarming our most vital medicines, how do we need to change our approach to farming to protect our hospitals? It's a hugely complex question, and definitely one we're going to need to answer in the very near future. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the invisible connections in the world around you.